that movie with Big Mama, this guy, what's his name? He has dark hair and black glasses, typical Jew looking, and he goes to Big Mama's house, but he hides out there because he was an accountant type, and they put him up in this big company, and anyway, he becomes the fall guy, right? So I was scared I was one of the scapegoats, but anyway, he says, oh, I do. This is my writing back in the 80s. I was scared to death that it locked me up or something. Apparently that happens quite frequently. I'm still not used to talking about classified info even. Well, here it is how it works. You don't discuss classified info, but you have to filter out what is classified and what is not. Usually a topic is not classified, but the info inside a letter or meeting might be. Hard to explain. Sometimes the subject line of a letter is not classified, but where a meeting is in the letter will take place, it takes place is so, meaning it is classified. I'm learning that I don't have to worry as much as I thought I would. I thought working with this stuff was going to be really scary and hush-hush. Be careful, they will put you in the brig. But really, each person has a responsibility to our government to keep what is classified protected. The way we do it is to keep secret in yellow folders and TS in red. But once you have to work on something, you can't let go of it. I mean, until you are finished with it, if it doesn't leave your sight, you don't work on a particular project, lay it down, and go back to another. You work on something and return it to the vault. It's always locked up or in your care, and heaven help you if someone peeks over your shoulder. Then the only problem I can see is if something is released first, then decided classified later, which is what happened to my boss and I. It is an experience I will never forget. If anything is compromised, you shred it and report it. What a way to spend a life, and I am just getting started. I thought I had pressure working for Newton B. Schwartz. I didn't know what pressure was. So these are notes I'm going to give to Mad. Now, this is funny. One thing marks me during terrorist and bomb threats is my badge, and we're told they look for us first. So, if I hear the alarm, my badge is coming off. I was a new kid, Mad, back I hate having to wear it, but it's a requirement.
Oh, I would remove it, too. I wouldn't let them know I was a cop or something like that happened. That'd be dumb.
In the Navy? Well, you're in the Navy, right? This is me working DOD, DON. NAVPAC, INCHCOM, Navy, how would I just say? It used to be called Naval Facility Pacific Engineering Command. That's who I worked for. So it says, I hate having to wear it, but a lot of people don't work with classified material, even GS 11, 12, 13, on up to 16, right? 18. So people have white unclassified badges. And they know who we are. So first of all, of course, I was working in clearance and security. See, I was always working with classified security stuff, right? So, you don't let the thoughts bother you. But anyway, it's a different experience, and I guess I will get better at it. I doubt I will be tasked with a lot of thought responsibility. So we have archaeologists, planners, architects, civil engineers, electrical engineers, fire protection engineers, security system engineers, lots of other environmental, geophysical, and other specialties. You didn't know I worked with all those people, did you, Matt? I didn't either. I had 35, 40 years ago. I sit right next to a geophysical engineer, and he handles geotechnical aspects from soil to pavement work and investigations into the study of what will and what won't work on a given site. Remember, we were building airfields right around the embassies and shit. So it says for building projects for runway communications stations, runways, and security and buildings. Right now, Spa Wars takes up most of our time. I'm working an extra 20 hours a week overtime on this project. Do you hear Spa Wars, Mad? I was working on Spa Wars. I got to look it up now. It's totally wiped out of my brain. If I wasn't reading this, I didn't even remember I did this. So I like my work, but the pay's lousy. Of course, now I'd made a lot more money. You got folks, I was making $5,000 a month back in the day. said I came into the military after coming back from Africa. You don't have that book, do you, Matt? Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But it's Mr. and Mrs. Morris. You don't have that one, do you? Yeah, I met Tom in Africa. Yeah. Let's see. I'm working extra 20 hours. Let's see. I got lost, but I like my work, but it's lousy pay. It's very hard to talk politics at work. Most everyone votes Democrat on this island, but I was in Honolulu where that guy was. You know, the one they picked up, and he's over in another country because you knew he was working where I was, right? You know why?
You talking about who?
Yeah, don't say his name. It's a guy that's no longer in our country doing, security kind of work. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about, though.
I'm not sure.
Let it snow, let it snow,
I mean,
let
just
it
saying,
snow.
there's plenty of guys that are in our country that was working in security.
He worked a lot later than me, 20, 30, 40 years later, but it's the same kind of stuff, So people with an education here at work, most government employees are middle-class taxed and underpaid Republicans. They blame the liberal Democrats for our middle-class existence with no future of digging ourselves out of the middle. No hope for becoming upper middle classes. They like their Dukakis, but knows it is idle campaign promises because he needs money. I guess Dukakis. Who was? Yeah, I said his name. Oh boy. Anyway, I already did it now. So we discussed the issues among ourselves, and still feel that Bush is the man for the job because boy, people argue with me now. Phew. But anyway, so and the man for the job because his idle campaign promises he won't taxes. I'm always helpful to people. Blah blah. See, I mean, even considering our archaeology, I still want a law degree, but that'll be after I come back to Clear Lake or Galveston. I can't be an attorney for the Navy because, I'd been working there, but in the Navy with before I went over to Hawaii, I was working for the attorneys in JAG office, Judge Advocate General, right? JAG, because that's where they put me. And so I did Judge Advocate General investigations and did the reports, worked with FBI and NIS and all that stuff. I think when you were out on the ship, I talked about one of the ships here, but I'll send all this to you, man. But do you think it'll make some good reading, just stuff that's in the past 30, 40 years ago? You think this would be okay if I send it to you or type it up?
Why not?
It's typed. All right. Well, it says we're working a lot with Bechtel and Raytheon.
It's got to be set up in a time. It's got to be set up in a timeline, like your other book was. All
right. Well, here was the part I thought I'd lost, but it says we're working a lot with Bechtel and Raytheon on radar over the horizon. It's called ROTHR, radar over the horizon. I just mailed this, but I don't want something coming out into the future. I'll just tell you, still pushing paper, going overseas. I'm going to get, maybe I better not say that stuff. Let's see. Living in Paradise, Hawaii is great. I love the hot days and cool nights. I love the sun and the water all around. I wasn't born here, but I think it's after a while. See, I wrote this to my mother, by the way. I wrote it October 16th, 1988. So what happened is Mother died, and my sister had this stuff for years. And for some reason, she was cleaning up her house and moving from Lubbock, Texas, where we did the movie Taken, right? And she decided to send me this letter my mom. I'd written to my mom for some reason. I guess she didn't want it, so she thought I may want it. But now it's funny because I don't remember this, Ahmad. I mean, you saw the kind of stuff I did, but 35 or 40 years, just stuff you do on a day-to-day, you don't remember the details, right? You know what I'm saying? You there?
Normally the stuff I really enjoy.
Yeah, it says, I've got to go to a ball. Phil's going to wear his choker white, like an officer and gentleman. And I'm wearing a white, he said, I'm wearing a winter white brocade. Occasionally we go to Navy functions required. that you go. But if you don't, it isn't required, but if you don't attend social functions, you're accused of not supporting the command or having a bad attitude. I was so young and naive, October 88. I never really tried to remember anything, but this is all written out. But I find it extremely funny because I was so young and dumb. I was in my 30s, right? 80s, because it's 1988. So how old was I, man? I just got in the second time around. I went in the Navy over to Balboa, and they made me a hospital corpsman, but I was really investigator and doing remote viewing. So, but the Navy, San Diego, I was in the Marines too. So Navy Marines. And I had kids. So, but because I'd signed up in 1967, they would say they were activated me. My mother didn't know what that meant, and I didn't either. But anyway, it meant they came and picked me up. Now, they had picked me up in 76. This was 88. I'd already been over to the Great Lakes. So you're saying that you think we should put all the stuff in you want to put it back to like Stanton Friedman with Stan in 70s? Let's see, what year was that?
Well, you want to keep
76.
it in order when it happened, how it happened. I mean, if you jump
probably,
around, people will get confused.
Well, I don't know how to do this, but this, now, when I was working, Strom Thurmond called me, right? Strom Thurmond. He was the senator of South Carolina, and he knew my brother and my Uncle Charles and me, and anyway, my brother was a Marine over in South Carolina. Where's the one, Parris Island? Is that North or South Carolina? That was my brother, Parris.
I got no clue.
Do you know? Well, that's where they train.
Nope.
Anyway, he was a sharpshooter. He trained people to shoot. He was real good shooting, like Tom. And then he swam outside and over. Yeah, my brother was a Marine. He worked out outside of Hawaii, came over and saw me, and they swam outside he was scared, and he didn't say he couldn't admit it, but he really was, but he was real tight-lipped with what he did. But one time, we were talking about Japan, because I went to Japan and he did too, and I was training with weapons in Japan during an earthquake. Some of the stuff that happens while you're in there just don't make sense. But I was like, did you train over? What were you doing? I was just doing simple stuff like training, solving problems and doing stuff like that. But he was out there swimming next to they'd put them out in submarines and then stick them out in a raft. And he said he about drowned, and the boys that didn't know what he knew, he had to save a couple of them. But they'd swim outside the rafts and go real fast, do real kind of strange maneuvers outside a submarine. But he said they were laying, like, I guess the wires we use now under the ocean or something. They had to run them from, like Japan back across. I don't know how they do that stuff, but he did that. That was one of the few things he felt wasn't classified or he could tell me. So he was a big badass, my brother. Big body. And my other brother's tall and skinny. He just did pipe stuff or welding, diamond cutting. He's called in. Now, the brother that's still alive, the Marine's dead. But the one that is still alive, he does stuff like in Houston, pipe stuff. But he's real good. He gets called in because he'll take the chances. We're all daredevils. He'll go in when it could be a possible spark and stuff. They need to get gas lines and stuff and run a diamond drill and stuff. So he's a Thurman too, but we're all nuts. We're all crazy. Well, we're the ones that go, I'll do it. We don't care. I think it's because we've all had past lives. We know we could get blown to smithereens and we don't give a damn. I didn't either. I wanted to go to war. I was crazy. So, but it's okay. We recovered, right? We come back. Anyway, so back to this. I got to wear the snappy dresses and stuff. I had good, I went to those things where plates were stacked on plates, and you had so many forks you didn't know which ones to eat with, so you start on the outside and work in, that kind of development in life. I've had a funny life. But you think this stuff would be good in your Allied Command? Do you want to put it in your magazine, or you